Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy GZTV back with another video. And in this video we are going to be discussing the second to last episode of the Walking Dead series, episode 23, Family. There's quite a gut punch of a twist, and some of the episodes recently have been kind of crazy about that, I'm not going to lie. They've been throwing a lot of stuff out there. I like what the show's doing to make this last season kind of interesting. Usually these reviews aren't that long, to be honest with you. But we just got to put the clips together, get a thumbnail going, and put it on YouTube. So this should be out by 11 o'clock. If you're seeing this, 11 a.m., the 28th of August, 2023. That's when you should be getting this video. But yeah, we'll be taking some word from the showrunner, Angela Kang, like we did yesterday in our review. So let's get into it. And here's a spoiler warning. The following video contains spoilers for quite an eventful episode of The Walking Dead. If you haven't watched it, do that before and then come back to the video. But yeah, anyways, let's get into the plot. Let's get into the plot. I mean, the term a doozy was all but coined to describe this episode of The Walking Dead. As Pamela's troopers led a swarm towards the Commonwealth, also that she could go through the motions of a lockdown, Aaron, Jerry, and Lydia became separated from Elijah, Juke, and Jules. Luke. This isn't Los Pollos. We're not talking about Juke here. But yeah, they're trying to kind of get through the swarm. They're doing like the kind of Walker Guts method to get through. Lydia tried so desperately not to let go of her boyfriend as he was swept away by the horde that she wound up getting bitten. I mean, goodbye harm. You guys know exactly what that means if you've watched the show long enough. And yeah, this is a romantic relationship that is kind of picked up a little bit in the series, and she really cares about him, and they wanted to show that with this moment. Later, Jerry insisted that it would be as easy as cobbler for him to go find the missing members of their party. Goodbye, Jerry. Are you gonna die? I don't know, man. In other developments, Pamela, beyond suspicious of Mercer in the wake of Eugene's disappearance from custody, had Max's brother arrested for treason. She thinks that he turned on the government. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, she is right. She is picking up the suspicion. She's a pretty smart politician. But wow. At the same time, Daryl, Carol, Judith, Negan, Gabriel, Rosita, and Maggie, Princess, basically most of our regulars snuck into the Commonwealth train station where the governor had an ambush waiting for them, which is kind of crazy. She had a bunch of people, waiting in the train station, waiting in the courtroom. They couldn't go anywhere. She had everything on patrol. She had everything on lockdown. They weren't going to revolt. I mean, she obviously executed this very well compared to some other villains. Pamela even picked up a machine gun herself and took aim at Maggie, only to have Judith push her out of the way and take the bullet herself. Oh, goodness. This was a pretty heart-wrenching moment on the show. Judith actually getting shot as like a fucking, 11-year-old girl, not older than that. She can't be older than that. She's a hero, though. She wanted to put her life on the line. She wanted to do stuff for her family, and that's great. But it gets to that annoying point where, like Carl did earlier on in the series, where it's like, you're young, you need to live out your childhood. You don't need to mature like this and go out and fight at this age, You still need to live a normal childhood, because that's what everyone else, that's what every other adult did, before this. But yeah, as the episode neared its conclusion, walkers, some climbers among them, made it inside the walls of the Commonwealth. Pamela's solution? Have troopers protect the estates and divert the dead towards the lower wards. Of course, I mean, this is a very classist society. She doesn't give a fuck about these poor people. As if we didn't already know she was scum. I mean, this makes it worse. This show is really putting it out there that this girl is a piece of shit. Sorry about that. At the same time, Daryl and company found themselves all but surrounded by walkers. And a little ass kicker, in her delirium, she seemed to see Daddy. But had she really? We can talk about. We can have Angela Kang answer questions like this. I mean, shooting Judith Grimes, that freaks people out. We can kind of talk about that first of all. There's not really going to be a review part, as I suppose. Sorry about the pauses. I'm not going to edit this video through this part, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. This is a very gut-wrenching event. This is not a story decision they took lightly. There were many, many conversations about whether they do it, what happens as a result, how do they portray it in a way that is as respectful as possible. You know, and we can talk about why they decided to do this. You know, scare the hell out of the audience, make people hate Pamela more. What are the motives? I mean, and so in the comic book, apparently, there's a storyline about the things that the next generation goes through and sees. What is the world that their parents' generation wants to leave behind for them? That is a major theme that they went into the final run thinking about. They really wanted to appreciate the comics. So this story kind of evolved out of that. There's a really important emotional dynamic that rises out of what happens next for Judith and for Gabriel. Even Pamela is like, what have I done? Because, you know, you kind of hope that when horrific things happen to children that people can take that step back and look at that. And I think that's one of the things they're exploring with her. It's like, yeah, you shot a little kid, and despite you being evil and despite you kind of hating these people's guts for revolting, you shot a kid in the process. So you have to kind of step back and, like, what the hell have I done? You know, the significance of Judith passing along to RJ the Hat, that used to be Carl's, that used to be Rick's, that was a cool moment. You know, her graduation to the next generation, maybe we could talk about that as well. So in some ways, she is doing things that are so beyond her age. All the children of this generation have been forced to grow up faster than they should have because the world is so dangerous, and in some ways doesn't care that they are children who deserve to be protected. So for Judith, there's this unspoken line that's sort of like, now you're having to grow up a little bit too, RJ, but you're still a child, and this hat is going to protect you, and you want to kind of hold that childhood really close to you. That's just something that they really wanted to honor as part of that Grimes legacy, that the hat means something as it passes from person to person, and it's sort of protective, you know. We can talk about, you know, Daddy. You know, Judith wasn't hallucinating, and she really did see Rick. Maybe we can talk about that. Well, that happened in the final episode. From Judith's perspective, she just kind of went unconscious. She's probably hallucinating a little bit, or at least very confused in a sort of dreamlike state. It felt real to them as they were writing it, that what she imagines and what's been on her mind all this time is a reunion with her parents. And that's something that could be really fucking awesome to end the series on. I think I would forgive a lot of seasons if they ended this series on her finding her dad again. She feels safe in somebody's arms for a moment, and she's wondering if Daddy came back. But of course it's Daryl, and the kind of gut punch for him is significant. Just the weight that's on him, the fact that he can't really be a Rick Grimes. I mean, obviously he's a great character in the series. This is no knock on him. But yeah, with Rick and Michonne gone and Lori long gone, like, this girl doesn't have real parents. You know, she doesn't even have a stepmom or a stepdad. You know, Daryl's a remaining parent figure for this child. But we felt like for Judith too, it's an indication of where her head's at through all of this. She misses her family, but she also trusts Daryl enough to feel that he's like a father figure, a daddy figure to her. You know, Lydia getting bitten, we could talk about that. The kid had Alpha for a mother. She spent years eating worms. Her first boyfriend was beheaded, and she just got a new one. She cannot catch a break in this series. I mean, Lydia is like the Jesse Pinkman of Walking Dead. I mean, she's had a tough run, but she's trying to find hope in the midst of that. She's also connecting with Aaron, who's lost an arm in this apocalypse. For Lydia, she's going to have to figure out what it means to have this disability, but she's still hoping she can reunite with Elijah, even though it feels very sad for her right now and very far in the future. And, you know, we'll see what happens in the last episode. You know, the amputation was a success, it seems. We didn't really see the results. Lydia looked like she was knocking at death's door towards the end. I mean, she was like really hallucinating and stuff. She's not out of the woods, but at the same time, there's hope in that people have survived this before. This is a story of someone who's willing to do anything to save the person that she loves. Because of her, for her, that's what it means to live life. She never would have done that when she was a Whisperer, because there was this survival of the fittest mentality. This is how she's really different from her mother, and she's trying to like branch away from her mother. She doesn't want to hurt people. She wants to help them, even if that means there are tough circumstances for her. You know, Jerry going out looking for Elijah, Luke, and Jules for Lydia. That was an interesting moment. He's got a wife and kids at home. We'll have to see what happens to him. I mean, They felt that Jerry has been on his own journey towards being a leader in his own small way. He was somebody who was happy to be the number two, the guy who was supportive of the leader. But the thing that he's realized is that for all of them, even for him, you can't just get by looking out for your own interests. I think Jerry is scared. I mean, if you look at the performance by Cooper Andrews, Jerry doesn't want to go out there, but this is what it feels like to be a part of a team. You have to do these things. You have to sacrifice. What is happening? Jerry is actually exceptionally brave. If you watch what the kingdom is like, the kingdom cares for its people. The kingdom is brave. The kingdom fights. So I think he feels it's his duty to go after them. No man or woman left behind. But anyway, yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts of the episode down below. I know I'm not really going to have a review segment for this episode, but I figured, we could talk about this a little bit. And yeah, pretty solid episode. I mean, this series is coming to a pretty solid close. The finale, this next video we're going to do this Friday is going to be probably one of the most controversial. So yeah, it'll be interesting.